So yes, we're scientists at heart that happen to own a business. And so it's making that little shift where understanding that when a patient asks for a copy of their prescription, you're going to the printer, putting a $100 bill on the printer and hitting print 3 times and handing that to the patient for them to go do business away from your practice. So is that not worth investing in?
Hey guys and Shen there, my friends and colleagues, and welcome to another amazing episode of the I Give a Damn podcast, made possible by Fluorescene Media, the company behind Odie's on Facebook. Today we have a remarkable guest joining us, Dr. Brianna Rhue, FAAO. She's a visionary in the field of eye care, a true pioneer, and a passionate advocate for improving patient experiences. Today, we discuss entrepreneurship in regards to both private practice as well as Brianna's inspiring mission to solve a problem that many of us might not even realize exists: contact lens purchasing problems. But it's not just about technology and business, it's about the heart of eye care, the patients, as we'll explore the profound importance of serving your patients' needs and meeting them where they are, both as a healthcare provider and as a business owner. So let's jump right in and learn from Dr. Rhue's remarkable journey, her insights, and her dedication to making a difference in the eye care world. So hit that subscribe and follow buttons, and here we go with Dr. Brianna Rhue. So first, thank you very much, Brianna, for being here and joining us on the podcast. I know, as always, when starting off, I would love to just give people an opportunity to hear your backstory, a little bit more of how you got into optometry. How did you start these avenues in entrepreneurship and building businesses and things like that? Can you tell us, how did you get into optometry?
Yeah, I like to think that I've been an optometrist since I was in second grade. I was that young myope who couldn't see the board. My parents were both myopic, and my dad had a buddy, brilliant optometrist in Colorado Springs, that my mom convinced him to put contacts on me because I was a gymnast and a dancer and my glasses were always broken. And that's really kind of what paved my path. And my passion really kind of grew from there. Growing up around my father and my mother, they ran a furniture business where they built the furniture and then they sold the furniture. And just seeing that business evolve over time and learning those lessons from my parents on really paving your own way, and that it really is up to you at the end of the day to make it your own path. And so they really put me on that trajectory, and you just never know what your butterfly effect is going to be. And that's what kind of molded me into want to go to become a doctor and a physician. And at one point I thought I wanted to be an orthodontist, wanted to go to medical school, and then just kind of came back to that optometry where I grew up working in that office, and then became, front desk to scribe, to then going to school, and here we are. So private practice and along for the ride. So
after your formal education in optometry, you went into private practice. Did you open up cold? Did you work as associate, buy in? How did that go about?
Yeah, so it was interesting. I had met a boy, my now husband, Josh, at the time during my residency. And I always had a job lined up to go back to Colorado Springs and practice. And I said, if I can find something here that I like, then we can stay. And if not, then we'll find somewhere else. And I walked into this practice that I now just bought out my partner 2 months ago. And thank you.
That's a long path, I know.
It was. So graduating in 2009, I did my residency, and I walked in, and he had interviewed a bunch of my colleagues and my friends, and none of them really took the opportunity. But when I walked in, I knew that it was like that house that I could build, and I just fell in love with what he had already done. And so I joined him almost immediately and bought in 2015. We had a great partnership, and it was that 50% buy-in, buy-out, which just came to a close. And so now being the sole owner, it's really, really exciting. I spell soul like S-O-U-L as well as S-O-L-E, because it's really your vision that has been there, and you get to see it, and you get to bring it to life and be there for your patients.
There definitely is something romantic about it. And I think a lot of, if you have that entrepreneurial spirit it really is something that you can really latch onto and becomes exciting to even dream about, like what you could do and how you could change things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now that you've just stepped into this 100% sole owner for this, do you have like big dreams for it? Do you have big ambitions?
I do. When I joined him, we've already doubled the practice since I've been there.
Wow.
I think in the space, again, it's not going to be more patients, going to be better quality of patients that we want to see. So my other passion here is the myopia management side. I was just speaking to our accountant. He's like, Brianna, these numbers are great. How are you doing this on the staff that you have? This is not normal.
Yeah.
And it comes down to innovation with technology and getting your team doing the things that they want to do, because we have a human resource issue. And if we don't get them doing the right things, that's what's going to lead to burnout. And if we're not doing the right things, that also is what's going to lead to burnout. So I like to read a lot of business books, a lot of inspiration things outside, and really apply it. And we'll share some of that later in.
I'm actually curious, how did you know you wanted to be involved in private practice? Like, have you always had this like entrepreneurship kind of mindset, even from when you were young, watching your parents, I imagine? Or how did you fall into that? Did you ever second guess yourself?
I haven't. My dad, I am really like my dad, and it scares you when you look back, right? I don't like rules. I don't like people telling me what to do. My values are risk. Let me jump off this cliff. Let me fly and build my airplane on the way down.
I love that.
I love
That's
personal freedom. I love just, coming and going as I want. And there's good things that come with that. There's not so good things that come with that. So I just want it to be my story. I want it to be my life. And I want to share that with other humans along the way. And I think that that's so valuable on motivation and inspiration and really seeing your vision and living it to its full potential. Doesn't mean we get lost along the way, or doesn't mean we don't get lost along the way, but surrounding yourself with great people.
And you're definitely taking action, right? You're not just sitting and twiddling your thumbs about things, waiting for something to happen. You are somebody who is making those changes, seeing where the path will go.
Yes.
Right? With business. Now, beyond just private practice, you've, for those who haven't fully known the history of Dr. Contact Lens, can you tell us kind of how that started, your role with it, and how you got to where you are today with that business?
Yeah, so Dr. Contact Lens is a fun one. Jen and I went to school together, and we both bought practices in two different cities. She's in LA, I'm in Fort Lauderdale, and we were just going back and forth on what was working, what wasn't, where the industry was going. And so again, it's surrounding yourself with doers. And something that just kept coming up, we both transitioned our practices from paper to EMR, and we saw the future of that. And how you can connect back with patients. And something that just kept coming up and time again was patients coming in saying this is the best eye exam they've ever had, and then asking us point blank for a copy of their prescription, and just feeling so deflated on, I just spent all this time with you for you to just walk out the door. And we knew there had to be a better way. So it was a patient of mine actually that came in and was a developer. And we said, we have this idea, let's figure this out. And that's where Dr. Contact Lens was born. We didn't want any double data entry. We wanted it for one place, and the FTC rule was launching. And we said, we need to digitize this solution. And so we did it. And now we shared it with our colleagues, which has been quite the adventure. And I always wanted something where we're the pawn in the entire system. And if we don't take action, somebody else will, and it's going to potentially cut you out. And then that hurts everybody in the industry down the road.
Right.
So that's where this passion comes from, is saying we have all these opportunities, but we're not meeting our patients where they want to be met. So with this growth that we've had, we made the Inc. 5000 list as number 41 of fastest growing companies.
Congrats.
On a very small number of accounts. And when I was able to reflect back on it, the thousands, Joey, thousands of no's with the couple hundreds of yeses that we've gotten, to show that healthcare technology is just right on the cusp. And if I would have gotten a couple more yeses, we could have been number one on that list. But we're the ones doing all the work, letting all these patients go out the door. And it's so funny when we look at what our staff is doing with their time, spending 28 steps, 8 to 10 minutes to process a single contact lens order for patients to come back and pick them up. That's not patient-centric, nor is it staff-centric. So if a patient walks in, they've got two ways. They're going to do the sale right there, or they're going to walk out. And if they walk out, we didn't meet the patient where they wanted to be met. And then we essentially gave them homework. And so it's leveraging that again. And that's what we wanted to create, was that patient experience. So patients are driving innovation, and we're the ones that are stagnating it and stagnating our own growth. And so the Dr. Contact Lens story is really special in we live and eat and breathe this every day. Our staff, same thing. If I asked you, or you asked me for a copy of your prescription as a staff member, what am I going to say? Everything after that is, oh, I have a rebate. Please order from us. We'll price match, right? You already lost that, and now it's a really awkward conversation. Not to mention what some of our colleagues are doing if they get a verification request. They'll get a verification request and try to call the patient and say, oh, I see that you wanted to order from here. Do you want to order from us instead? How is that beneficial for anyone? But again, we're doing 90% of the exams, yet only selling 50% of the product. So that's what I want people to understand. It's about leveraging what you have to be there for the patient so they're there for you.
Right. So I'm kind of getting an idea. I think what I would love to know is, like, if I'm going to have a practice and I'm noticing these same sort of issues, like, what is so different about Dr. Contact Lens? Like, I guess I haven't played with it myself. I don't know the end user experience. Can you kind of give us a narration or paint us a picture of what that would be like, and from maybe a patient's point of view? Like, what,
of course.
What do they see?
Yeah, so the patient, we have 3 types of patients that are contact lens patients in a practice. We have the one that comes in, loves what you do, they buy an annual supply. And in a year, you need to remind them that they're out and they need to make an appointment with you. So we help facilitate that. Then you have scenario number 2. The patient wants a 6-month supply, right? Perfect. We'll sell you the 6-month supply. We know when you're going to run out. So why are we not the ones reminding you? So again, we trigger those reminders for you. Then you have this third scenario, which is where the patient comes in, says, this is the best eye exam I've ever had. Can I have a copy of my prescription? And in that moment, you say, yes, here it is. It's your record. So we send them a text message, we send them an email. It's got their vision plan benefits in it, the rebates. The patient can log in to download their prescription, but they see everything. They have to go through your checkout process. They can go somewhere else. I'm not holding you hostage, and you can order from us. You can do your due diligence right then and there in the comfort of your home, and you have a 60% chance of that patient ordering an annual supply. So we've just digitized this where we can connect with the EMRs. You're not going to 4 different places to order. It's one system. If you want to move from place to place to place, you can do that. You're in charge of your business. You're not locked in to a certain distributor or a certain manufacturer. And we wanted that solution for the longevity of the practice. This is not 5 years from now, not 20 years from now. I'm the 2nd generation owner of this practice. I want it to go into its 3rd generation. I want it to go into its 4th generation. How are we going to do that? Meeting patients where they want to be met.
And I've heard a similar sort of phrase that if as long as you basically make a product, make the patient happy, then like money will come, the business will come. So stop trying to worry about everything else. Just make the end user happy, right?
Correct.
With building this, what have been some of the biggest challenges that you've kind of faced? Because I know, if I tried to reverse engineer it and be like, how would I start in building that same sort of process, that business? It just sounds really overwhelming. So imagine you faced a lot of conflict.
I, at the beginning, did not realize we were a tech company. I thought we were building this baby website. We needed this integration and that integration. No, like Dr. Contact Lens is a full-blown technology company. Think of us as the Amazon for ordering, right? Anything that we're prescribing, the patient should be able to get from us. And so we've got now probably 40 different integrations now that are all leading back into this monster that we built. And I think what's special is when we onboard an office, it's really about process change. Tech at the end of the day just has to work, right? Our phones just have to work. Yeah, there's going to be bugs here and there that you'll get over, but that's the core. Then you have to make it about the process. So it's about this change management that we're all up against in our practices. So that's been the biggest challenge, is people seeing, I'm not getting rid of your job. I'm making your job better so you can do more important things that are more valued to the practice, that patient connection, this interaction, and then move forward. So just, we're all kind of going through this maze trying to figure out and piece together what's the best. But it comes back to, again, being there for the patient.
With the whole idea of starting this, it sounds like it really did come from just this frustration of, like working with patients and feeling somewhat frustrated, almost devalued, right?
And on the defensive.
Yeah. And I think this is something that I've always been frustrated with, is just the way insurance and a lot of our industry, they kind of devalue our time, our expertise in working with patients. And it really puts all of the value on this product, right? Mm-hmm. This outside product, not our expertise, value, friendship, working with the patient. And would you agree that it sounds like that? It sounds like you're a little frustrated by that, because so much is passed on to that chance of selling a product, when really your value as you and your time and expertise is really where the value should be shifted.
Well, we're taught in school, obviously, to be great technicians and great clinicians, right? And then there's a piece to this missing where we don't understand our own value. In school, we're just taught, go do that OCT to learn it, right? And then we don't transition into being able to have a profitable business. So yes, we're scientists at heart that happen to own a business. And so it's making that little shift where understanding that when a patient asks for a copy of their prescription, you're going to the printer, putting a $100 bill on the printer and hitting print 3 times and handing that to the patient for them to go do business away from your practice. So is that not worth investing in, right? So my platform is not free. There's one out there that are free, and you're the product, right? Mm-hmm. So I want people to understand we have hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in our practice. You've already paid for your staff. This goes directly to your bottom line. So success looks different to different people, and that's understandable, but you got to put yourself in the ring, because we're taking ourselves out of it by not keeping up. So with Dr. Contact Lens, we're able to go back in time, show you who never ordered, who's due to reorder, who's due to come back and see you. And so many of our colleagues are like, Brianna, I'm booked out 3 weeks. I don't want to hit this button, right? Okay, but maybe we could figure out some other way to get these patients their lenses. So it's just thinking a little bit differently. That sometimes is scary, but I swear the other side, it's unbelievable and it's fun. So it puts that fun back into it. It takes you off defense. It takes your practice off defense. It takes your staff off of defense. That allows them to be there for the patient.
Absolutely.
And allows the patient to decide.
And I also think that there's almost a duty with it. If you're having a clinic and you want to really serve your patients, then you want to be constantly upgrading, offering better services, being able to give better care. And if your business is suffering financially, the only way for you to grow is to have a profitable business. So
Yes.
if you're cutting yourself, if you're limiting your business in terms of income, then you can't hire more staff. You can't bring in the newest technology. You can't offer the new technology to catch these unique diseases or better manage the patients in your community. Mm-hmm. So when your patients are taking their business elsewhere, they're fueling somebody else's paycheck in a different part of the world, a different part of the country that does not share the same values. It doesn't even benefit probably your patients' values.
No.
They're hurting their own community by spending their money elsewhere. And so I think a lot of doctors just don't don't see it that way.
Right.
And so investing in their business in some sort of process that makes things streamlined and ultimately makes it easier, no matter what the patient chooses. But just offering that and meeting the patient where they are.
Yes.
It sounds like that really helps solve a lot of those problems.
And that's what we've done. And it's so special when it all comes together. And I think so many of us we're afraid of our staff. We're afraid to go in and implement change. Like when you're at a conference and you go back, your staff wants to know where you are, right? So I read the book called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, and it's a life changer. I hired an amazing executive assistant a few short weeks ago who used to work at my practice. And the things I've learned from her being in the team entity and now working side by side with me is just this feedback loop that we're not letting people do. We're not letting our team be part of the build. And granted, when I bring something new to them, all they see is like more work, or it's going to be hard, or it's not going to work, or now we have to try this. That's not my team. We're there to create and help, and the patients give us that feedback because every time there's something new. So what they say to me is like, oh my gosh, doctor, you've got this latest thing again. My response to them is, you invest in me, so I'm able to invest in you. And then it all comes back together. Healthcare's human. And if we keep cutting ourselves out in that patient-doctor relationship, which is so critical to great care, the whole industry collapses. But we have to put ourselves there in the industry and be part of it.
Since you seem so in tune with what your patients want and what they're saying, from kind of a top-down point of view, considering like you just see more of how this business, especially in the world of contact lenses, you have a different perspective, I think, than most other doctors because you've kind of built this business from the ground up and kind of understanding how it all works. Where do you think the industry is versus where patients are?
We're so far behind, light years behind. And they're telling us that. That's why they're going to the online retailers. That's why they're going to online opticals. That's why they're testing out teleoptometry or telemedicine in different ways. Everything we do is through our phone. Why, in one moment in our life when we're driving to our offices, we're a consumer. We may have just ordered something from Amazon. We did a Target pickup. We ordered our coffee through an app where we didn't want to have that human interaction. I wanted it now. I wanted it then, and they made it easy for me. So if we look just kind of at the food industry, right, they have surpassed everything so quickly, right? And they teach you from the moment that you do a transaction with them how they want you to do business with them. They're going to give you 50% off of your first order for downloading that app. They're training you on the first interaction how they want you to do business with them because they know that that's the future. But yet when we walk in through our doors, we're a consumer, and now we're a team member, forgetting that patients, literally there's a line in my office where they're a patient and they are a consumer. And you have to treat them as such. And we can't hold them hostage. Holding a PD or holding a prescription is not how you would want to do business with somebody. Why are we doing it to other people? And we're all being enticed, like in school again, when it's talking about value, we're taught about rebates. We're taught that we're going to save ourselves to wealth. That's not where real wealth comes from. So we're tripping over all these little things, just letting hundreds of thousands of dollars that we already saw walk out the door. It doesn't make any sense. So that's where I see the passion part of this.
Definitely. And that's again why I wanted to have you on as a guest, is because clearly you have a motivation and a passion. You give a damn about our profession and what you do, and you see things from a different light. And I think that comes across very clear. Now, the other thing that I know you've been involved in, which we don't have to talk too much about, but I'd like to bring some light to it, is your involvement with Techify.
Yeah.
Because I remember a few years ago, I attended a Vision Expo event where you were leading it, and that was part of Techify. Can you speak upon kind of what Techify is and really
Yeah.
how it's involved with the industry?
So Jen and I, again, launching Dr. Contact Lens, we saw this need that technology was coming in. So SaaS product, software as a service, you're going to invest in this system and the process to make something easier. So Dr. Contact Lens or Optify or Weave or all these little different assets that you need on the front end of the business. We're good at like retinal cameras and all of this other stuff, but the other front of the end we have to implement. So we said, look, we go into these exhibit halls, right? And we're all enticed by pretty and shiny, and I can't tell you, like, people just like steal stuff off your table. It's actually hysterical. I'm like, that was my water bottle. That wasn't a giveaway. Like, put it back. Like, we're literally like petty thieves at these things, like kind of like hoarding all this like crap. Go in and talk to someone and learn something. Your reps are there to move your business and your practice forward. I always understood that the reps are the most valuable entity to my practice because they're in 50 other practices around me. They know what's moving. They know what's working. They know what's not. They know what practices are great. They know which ones are not, right? And it's a very small industry. So what we wanted with Techify was to really put people on that mission. If we're all doing 12, 14 companies, the same demos to the same doctors getting the same nose, we needed to solidify that and put you kind of in that mindset that, oh, this is starting to happen. I may need to innovate here. And so that was that whole reason behind Techify, was to kind of bring all of this together into one little area so you're not spread out all over the floor. These meetings are not cheap for vendors, right? What do you think makes us have great meetings? Is your vendors. You got to go in with open eyes and learn what they're doing. Yes, at the end of the day, we're all there to sell you something, right? But figure out what you're there to go do. It's not the education. Yes, we can get great education at these things, but it's about these conversations. It's the water cooler conversations. What are you implementing in your practice? How are you moving it forward? Look at this thing over here, right? And I've been burned by new tech, right? Who hasn't? But it doesn't keep me from trying or moving forward. And so that's what Techify wanted to be. We were like this cool kid tech club with all the, it was like a therapy group for all of our tech band startups that were garage bands that like, how do we do this more effectively together than being all over in my little itty bitty booth hoping somebody walks by? So that's what Techify is and is continuing to become.
And I think it's brilliant, and I think it's also very helpful. One of probably the best advice I got from a mentor when I was a student, his name is Dr. Bert Dubois, if anybody's ever met him. He advised me very early in my career at kind of not an expo, but it was a local meeting. He's like, Joe, go shake hands with every person at every vendor at the booth. Introduce yourself, even if you're not going to buy any of these instruments, but get to know who they are, what they're selling, what they do, because it's going to open up your mind to new possibilities. You're going to make networking connections. You're going to learn so much. Also, they're paying to be here, so please go make these connections. And I started doing that, getting business cards, and it continued just to open my mind of all the new devices that, whether they've come and gone, or they've changed or exchanged hands to some other business entity, but it has opened up a lot of doors and possibilities. And I think to kind of even your point, like you've been burned by some tech, right? But that's with all business. You're not gonna, the price to success, the price of entry is failure.
Yes.
You have to
100%.
Right, you have to take that chance, whether it's a small or a big thing. And then, if you do get burned, that's okay. You have to shift. You just have to pivot.
Yeah,
right?
We'll spend $50,000 on a piece of equipment, but we won't spend $4,000. That's going to make us $200,000. Like it's just mind blowing. And I grew up kind of in the same household. My dad, his story, he always would say, Brianna, you can walk into a room and not know anybody and walk out not knowing anybody, or you can walk into a room not knowing anybody and walk out knowing everybody. Which one do you want to be? So again, that's like always had that in my head. Granted, I am an extrovert and I do get my cup filled by doing those things. My husband's the introvert, which grounds me back, right? So I play that part. But it's exactly true. You never know what door you're opening or closing by when you're walking into that booth.
Right. It reminds me of a for other movie nerds out there, the original Matrix movie. I grew up watching that one. There's a part early on where it's like, Neo, you know what's down that road. You've been down that road before, but you can also take this other path, which you don't know where it leads. And that always comes to my mind, because there's times where it's like, I just want to play it safe. I just want to sit in my corner, go back to the people I know, or go back to my hotel room and not go out and venture and do something social. But it's like, no, I know where that road goes.
Yeah.
And it's not going anywhere that is going to change my life.
Mm-mm.
So I can make that conscious decision. No, let's go explore, have fun, see where the wild card goes.
Yeah. And fear and excitement are the same emotion. We just assign it a different thing, right? So it's leaning into the fear with excitement and leading your staff down that path too. Because so many times we'll launch Dr. Contact Lens and they'll say, oh, my staff voted and we're not moving forward. Well, they just cost you $1.2 million and it's right here in this button. Like, do I just accidentally spill my coffee and push it so you can see the success? So it's funny how we are orchestrating some of the office staff and the technology and letting them fearfully run our practices. So it's just so critical to get out there and see what's new, have conversations like this, because again, the vision industry is so special. It's so small, but we have a really big mission to take care of not only our own visions, but the patients that we see.
Absolutely. I have a question, considering we're just talking about fear and excitement.
Yeah.
For you, with our industry, keeping them just of knowing what you know, from owning your own practice to seeing the industry from a different light, from building Dr. Contact Lens and Techify, what about we're in the current state of our industry makes you the most afraid about the future of optometry? And on the other side of the coin, what also makes you most excited?
The thing that I'm most fearful for is we're not moving fast enough. We're not saying yes fast enough. And I get it. It comes to bandwidth. You get there, you got to see 20 patients. Payroll is due. Your fire extinguisher is out. The carpet leaked here. It's just, again, surrounding yourself by people and allowing them to do the job, because they're going to surprise you, right? This doesn't always have to fall all on your shoulders. So what makes me fearful is we're giving away all of our patient information, not realizing what we're doing, right? So we need to leverage that. I don't care who you give it to, but you better be using it the way that they're using it. And when I tell people that, they don't care. They're like, oh, it's fine. I get this rebate over here. We'll see what happens, right? That's not going to lead down a really good path, right? And also understanding too, just ROI. We'll spend $70,000 on a piece of equipment, but won't spend $299 a month for something that can help pay that piece of equipment off faster on the patients that we already saw. What excites me is that a lot more of us are making the shift to the industry side and having conversations like this that are going to enable us to really see behind the curtain of Wizard of Oz and do something about it. So it's just such a special industry on what we get to do. We can all take great care of patients and be very successful, and success for you means something different than it does for me, and that's fine. But just be true to yourself when you look back in 35 years, 40 years, 45 years, that you did it, that you put in your all, that you gave it your all. Because regret is harder than the other side. So I don't want that to be a destination. So that's my excitement and fear.
That I think you almost just gave the answer for my final question, which was if we could if there was a surgeon general of optometry position, right? Where you could wake up and be like, okay, I'm going to make this one change be your mission for the next year for all of optometry. If you could snap your fingers and change that one thing. It sounds like you kind of answered that in a way. But in your own words, what do you think the one thing, if you had a magic wish, you could rub a lamp and wish one change for optometry, what do you think it would be?
It would be to understand your goddamn value. we're just taught that it's free here and it's free there, and that does nothing. That gets nobody anywhere. And it's okay to charge your patients. They need you to charge them. So I give you authority to do that. And I think we have to do that more.
Thank you for the permission to charge what I'm worth.
Yes. And I think we just are squashed. And it just comes down to what we see with ads on TV. And why do you think people want to be in our industry so bad? Look at the other side of this, right? You have, the world is your oyster. You just have to take it day by day, step by step, and know that you're just making little moves, and that adds up to the big iceberg.
Well, Brianna, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, sharing your insights. You've really kind of brought some amazing just thoughts to the table. So thank you again. And I look forward to hopefully having more conversations with you in the future.
My pleasure. Excited to have done this.
So that was our conversation for today. Thank you for joining us. And if you are enjoying the podcast, please do yourself a favor by following us on your favorite streaming service or subscribing to the show over on YouTube. And if you're someone who is finding value in this content and equally gives a damn about the profession of optometry, then please do us a favor and leave us a review on whatever streaming service you normally listen with. This will really help us out and help out other professionals find this content. Otherwise, thank you for listening in, and I hope you have a fantastic day.